Alright everyone, welcome back, and now we are going to start talking about variables and the rules involved in variables. Everything that you're going to do in Matlab is going to be done through a variable. You're almost never, except for very simple scratch calculations, do things like 5 plus 5. I don't want to keep on doing that one. Or 1 plus 2. That just doesn't, you're not going to do that. You usually want to store that somewhere permanently in a variable name. And there are rules to Matlabs. And so the Matlab rules are: rule number 1, you don't make bad jokes about Fight Club. Rule number 2, all variables must begin and start with a letter. That's it. You can't say 5h or 5h. Oops, 5h equals 6. It's just not going to like it. It has to start with a letter. It can't contain. It cannot contain any special characters, no percent sign, no star, or any of those things. The only thing it can have is an underscore. So you can say a underscore 4 underscore 3 blah, 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 and all of that can be a variable. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do that as a variable. And note, they are case sensitive. So a, or if I said goober is equal to 20 and capital goober is equal to 21, you'll notice over here they are two separate variables. So it's case sensitivity. That is a problem, because if you're like me, changing case can be a problem. You might not be careful, but that is a very important thing you want to be aware of. The second thing about variables is there are a list of keywords that you simply can't use variables names. I mean, this kind of makes sense. You can check what these are by typing is keyword, and you'll get a list. And all of these things here that you see here are simply not allowed to be variables. And this is it. So you can't use break. I can't say break. Break is equal to 10 because it just doesn't like it. You just can't do it. So anything in the keyword, it cannot be a variable. Now what does that mean? It means that anything else can become a variable name. So for example, the sine function. I can say sine of 5 and you'll get the sine of 5, right? That's lovely. However, I can turn sine into a variable and call sine 10. Now you'll notice right under goober you have sine is 10. So what happens if I make sine of 5 again now, trying to make call the function of sine and hit enter? It now gives me an index exceeds matrix dimensions. I'll talk about that, what that means in a little bit, but now what you're seeing here is it's overriding the sine function with the variable. So forevermore, as long as sine is in this workspace, it's going to use the sine as a variable and not as a function. I can clear, CLC, say sine 5 again, and we gain back that function. I'm making a point of this, and you want to make a point of this too, because this is a very common mistake to make in MATLAB by accidentally defining a function as a variable. Now, there are reasons why you want to do it. None of them's coming to my mind right now, but that is just one of those cases that you have to deal with. Note that, as I mentioned already, the variables can take the form of vectors, scalars, arrays, and so forth. So, and it doesn't really matter what the name is, just as long as you know what it is. And here it's often very useful because you get a sense of what kind of format the variables are going to be taking. So, the last thing I'm going to point out, and I'm going to split these off into multiple videos, and I apologize for that. I'm just trying to keep these videos short so you can kind of go in and come out at your own place and without having to try to track through the thing to find out where the most logical place to start is. So the final thing I want to point out here is I've been using equals all throughout this, and I've been using equals as a way of defining a variable here. Right? If I say a equals 5, and I say that, I get a variable a. I keep on using a as a boring variable. Let's just call this I can't spell spectacular. Spectacular is equal to 10. I can say that. Now, here, it may not be apparent, but I want to say equals does not mean equals. It is not the algebraic equals symbol in MATLAB. And this is true effectively, this was fairly true in Excel too. We just didn't really pay attention that closely. But in this case, it's not an equal symbol. It is a assignment operator, is what we're going to call it. And the reason why this matters is because what we're saying here is everything on the left-hand side of this assignment operator is this value on the right-hand side. So spectacular is equal to 10. Why does this matter? Well, it's very powerful in computer programming because it lets us do things like this, where I can say spectacular, I wish I didn't type that, spectacular is equal to, I could say spectacular again plus 1. And what's going to happen is it's going to take the previous value of spectacular, add it to itself, add it to 1, and then the new value now becomes 11. That is, from a mathematical standpoint, what we just said was x is equal to x plus 1. From a mathematical point of view, this is gibberish, because what we would say is x, we subtract both sides by x, we'd have 0 is equal to 1, and the universe would explode. That doesn't make any sense. We hate that. But for an assignment operator, this is very useful, because we're just saying that we're going to set x is equal to this value of x, and we can let it go. This is very similar to the direct substitution method that we talked about and how that kind of falls into place, and it allows us to do a lot of calculations implicitly. So just I want to emphasize once again, remember that equals in MATLAB isn't explicitly equals, it is assignment. And so we'll stop there, and I will continue into the next video. Thank you.